Crew 10 is almost here, but is SpaceX facing a potential bottleneck with its boosters? And what about the Starship program? Is it really in trouble? What hardware will be used for the next launch campaign? Meanwhile, Artemis II is racing toward completion, and Relativity Space is in the middle of redesigning the entire Terran R rocket. And is that a blood moon rising on the horizon? Welcome to Space Now. Let's dive into today's mission briefing. SpaceX is preparing to launch Crew 10, a major milestone marking 10 years since NASA officially placed its trust in private companies to carry astronauts into space. But on March 12th, just hours before liftoff, a technical issue with the rocket's hydraulic system caused a delay. A decade ago, when Crew Dragon completed its first test flight, Demo 2, no one could say for sure whether it would succeed. Today, human space flights aboard Crew Dragon have become a routine part of our journey to the stars. Crew 10 will launch from Kennedy Space Center aboard a Falcon 9 Rory C-9 rocket carrying NASA Commander Anne McClain, NASA pilot Nicole Ayers, JAXA mission specialist Takuya Onishi, and Roscosmos mission specialist Kirill Peskov. Once Crew 10 arrives at the International Space Station ISS, the mission handover will officially begin. Crew 9, including veteran astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore, has spent 6 months in orbit and is preparing for the journey back to Earth. But here's the twist: they didn't arrive on a Crew Dragon. They flew up aboard Boeing's Starliner, a spacecraft that still hasn't been certified for a crewed return to Earth. So what happened? NASA called in SpaceX as the backup plan, ready to bring them home aboard Crew Dragon. Once again, SpaceX proved itself as the ultimate safety net. This launch also marks the 10th operational Crew Dragon mission under NASA's Commercial Crew Program. In just 4 years, more than 40 astronauts have flown to the ISS aboard a SpaceX capsule. During their 150-day mission, the Crew 10 astronauts will conduct over 200 scientific experiments ranging from biomedical research in microgravity to preparations for deep space exploration. They'll also help manage incoming supply missions from Cargo Dragon Cygnus and Progress spacecraft, making sure the ISS stays fully stocked and mission-ready. But that's not all. Crew 10 also lays the groundwork for Axiom 4, a private mission set to launch this spring. Once seen as the new kid on the block, Crew Dragon has now become the backbone of crewed missions in low Earth orbit. Can you imagine, in just a few years, space travel could become as routine as catching a flight? Now, stepping away from the ISS, let's head to Starbase, Texas, where things are moving fast. Ship 35 has arrived at the Massey test site, gearing up for a series of critical evaluations to prove its flightworthiness. These tests are especially crucial following the back-to-back explosions of Ship 33 and Ship 34. The urgency is unmistakable. On March 11th, SpaceX even posted a job listing for an engineer to help design the Starship Block 2 Fantithelanton propellant feed system. Could this be a direct response to the recent failures? Very likely. And if that's your area of expertise, apply now. Starship needs you. In the meantime, SpaceX continues testing, though this time it's not with engine ignitions. Instead, they're using hydraulic systems to simulate the immense forces of launch. At Massey, massive hydraulic actuators press against the engine attachment point, the puck, with launch-level force. If there's even a hint of cracking or deformation, the ship won't advance to the next stage, the cryogenic proof test. After 2 high-profile failures, no one wants to witness another spectacular Starship explosion in the sky. Right now, the top priority is clear: get Starship to altitude, deploy the simulated Starlink payload, and reignite the engines flawlessly. This isn't about testing a single flight anymore. SpaceX is refining the entire launch system to make it reliably reusable. And with Ship 35, every data point will help shape future starships, each one stronger, smarter, and more capable than the last. Let's not forget Falcon 1 failed 3 times in a row. But from those ashes, SpaceX rose to dominate the commercial space industry. Now the Starship program stands at a turning point. These tests could make or break what comes next. And you, the viewer, can be part of it. Hit that like button and subscribe to Space Now, so you never miss a moment in space history. Switching gears to Artemis II, NASA is picking up the pace for its next launch, United Launch Alliance, and NASA teams are finalizing the core stage tests of the SLS heavy-lift rocket, the central pillar of the Artemis program. This round of testing focuses on structural integrity, fueling procedures, and engine ignition, ensuring the entire rocket core can withstand the extreme conditions of launch. For Artemis II, NASA's upcoming crewed lunar flyby, these tests are absolutely critical. NASA doesn't just need systems that function. They need to be proven safe enough to carry humans into lunar orbit. Despite multiple delays, NASA remains fully committed to the Space Launch System (SLS), viewing it as the cornerstone of future missions, not just to the Moon, but eventually to Mars. Did you know, right now SLS is the only viable option for sending astronauts into lunar orbit? But here's the catch: it doesn't land. That's right, SLS isn't designed to bring humans down to the lunar surface. For that final descent, NASA will rely on a privately developed lunar lander, and that's one of the main reasons why the Artemis program continues to spark intense debate. Artemis II, set for April 2026, will mark the first time humans travel beyond low Earth orbit since 1972. This 10-day mission around the Moon won't include a landing, but it will test Orion's life support systems, flight controls, and human survivability in deep space, laying the groundwork for future landings on the Moon. The crew includes Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialists Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen, representing both the United States and Canada. Here's a question for you. If you were part of this mission, what would you pack to survive 10 days so far from Earth? Even without a landing, Artemis II is the essential prelude to Artemis III, the first moon landing of this new space era. But the path hasn't been easy. After the uncrewed Artemis I mission in 2022, engineers discovered abnormal scorching and chipping on Orion's heat shield during re-entry. It may sound minor, but in a mission this complex, a flawed heat shield could jeopardize everything. For the past 2 years, NASA engineers have quietly been refining the design, reinforcing the protective layers, and preparing for worst-case scenarios. These necessary updates pushed the original launch window from 2024 to 2026. But every hour of testing today could save lives tomorrow, and in spaceflight, that's always worth the wait. The countdown has begun, and with Artemis II on the horizon, humanity is one step closer to a historic milestone, the day our footprints return to the Moon. On March 2nd, SpaceX launched Booster 1086, one of its newer Falcon 9 first stages. According to Bill Gerstenmaier, SpaceX's Vice President of Build and Flight Reliability, about 85 seconds into flight, a fuel leak caused kerosene to spray onto a hot component. In the low-oxygen environment of ascent, the fuel didn't ignite, but that didn't make it any safer. Can you guess what happened next? That's right. Rapid Unscheduled Disassembly, better known as an unexpected mid-air explosion. A highly unusual event just struck a Falcon 9 booster, something that feels almost unthinkable at this stage of the program. Remember, it took SpaceX 20 tries to nail its first successful landing on a drone ship. And now, when reusability has become the new normal, one unexpected failure still managed to tip a booster over after landing. So, what went wrong? This time the culprit was oxygen intrusion into the engine compartment. The uncontrolled oxidation caused a fire that severely damaged one of the landing legs, leading the booster to collapse on the deck of the drone ship. Fortunately, the uncrewed ship was still able to return the fallen booster to port, where photographer John Wingcop captured some jaw-dropping images of the aftermath, a scene that was both dramatic and sobering. Imagine being the lead engineer on that mission. How would you feel? Back at Starbase, an odd paradox is unfolding. SpaceX has plenty of boosters, but not enough upper stages to fly with them. Specifically, Super Heavy boosters B-16 and B-17 are fully assembled and standing by inside Megabay 2. Alongside them are two recovered boosters B-14-1 and B-15-1. But only one Starship is currently undergoing testing Ship 35. Ship 36 hasn't been stacked yet, and Ships 37 and 38 are still incomplete, just partial rings being welded together. What does that mean? SpaceX is facing a serious bottleneck. Boosters are ready, but Starships aren't. It's like having a garage full of powerful V8 engines, and no chassis to mount them on. This situation highlights something aerospace engineers have long warned about. The upper stage may be smaller, but it's far more complex to build. Boosters are huge, yes, but SpaceX has already mastered them after hundreds of Falcon 9 launches. Meanwhile, Starship, especially the new Block 2 variant, is still struggling with a series of critical design issues. To transform Starship into a fully reusable spacecraft, SpaceX needs to overcome three massive challenges: structural durability, thermal protection during re-entry, and a highly precise propellant feed system that can operate under intense vibration. Recent test flights have provided valuable data, but unfortunately, no Starship has yet survived re-entry intact. In fact, the last two flights didn't even make it far enough to test the heat shield. Both failed earlier due to unrelated issues. Severe vibrations caused by engine operations have been damaging internal structures, leading to mission failure before controlled re-entry could even begin. So here's the question: is SpaceX still on the right track with Starship? Or is it time for a new strategy to truly realize the dream of sending humans to Mars? SpaceX has always stuck to its philosophy of iterative testing, fail fast, fix faster, but the company has never been under public scrutiny quite like this. A rapid unscheduled disassembly might be just another data point for engineers, but to the general public, it looks like a disaster. While Super Heavy boosters are being built at breakneck speed, SpaceX still doesn't have a Starship upper stage reliable enough to complete a full mission launch, re-entry, and recovery. So, what's the solution? The answer is clear: fix Block 2 and prove Starship can survive from liftoff all the way to landing, then repeat that cycle over and over. That's the only path to achieving full reusability for both stages. They're not just modifying the structure, they're redesigning the entire approach. The airframe is being assembled, Terran R engines are firing daily at Stennis, and key components like thrust structures, avionics, and fluid systems are all in production. The launch site is under construction at LC-6 in Cape Canaveral, a clear sign that Terran R is no longer just a concept on paper. So what's the big change? Originally, Terran R was designed to be a direct competitor to Falcon 9, with a fully 3D printed structure. But now, Relativity is shifting toward a heavy-lift strategy designed to support high payload capacity with frequent launch cadence. Relativity Space is undergoing a staged transformation, much like what SpaceX went through in its early days. Block 1 focuses on flight readiness, Block 2 will enhance reusability, and Block 3 targets an ambitious goal over 50 launches per year. This isn't just a technical shift, It's a strategic pivot that shows they're no longer locked into a single rigid production method. Instead of fully 3D printing the rocket as originally planned, Relativity is now taking a hybrid approach, 3D printing only where it's most efficient, while combining traditional materials and manufacturing techniques to avoid supply chain bottlenecks. In a landscape where projects like Starlink, Amazon's Kuiper direct-to-cell networks and Earth observation systems are booming, the demand isn't for a few rockets, it's for hundreds of launches every year. Relativity has already secured over $2.9 billion in launch contracts from clients seeking reliability and high-frequency access to space. But here's the twist. The original Terran R design wasn't built for this scale. That's why the updated version had to be created to take on that responsibility. The goal, by 2026, Terran R aims to achieve rapid reusability and dramatically increase its launch cadence. Now let's move on to a story. Not about pizza deliveries, but about deliveries to the ISS. NASA and Northrop Grumman are urgently revising their resupply plans for the International Space Station after the Cygnus spacecraft experienced a malfunction during its planned orbital reboost maneuver, a key function that helps keep the ISS at its proper altitude. While Cygnus successfully delivered its cargo, it failed to raise the station's orbit as expected, raising concerns about redundancy. What happens if there's only one spacecraft capable of performing station boosts? NASA is currently reviewing backup options ranging from rescheduling upcoming launches to enforcing stricter checks before Cygnus is cleared for takeoff. As commercial players take on a growing role in ISS operations, this incident is a clear wake-up call. Relying too heavily on a single provider is a strategic risk, especially for critical missions. Are you following this race? Do you think Terran R could become a true competitor to Starship? Or is it still just an apprentice, growing quietly in the shadows? In the vast darkness of space, humanity continues to search for the light of understanding. If you believe that space exploration is part of our shared destiny, don't forget to stay with Space Now. One subscription today is a step toward a future you can understand, experience, and inspire. See you at the next launch.